Okay. All right. I've made some changes. Go over them in a moment. One of the things I worked with during playtests was I needed some type of visual board, something to kind of tie in the concept. And so this is another attempt at the board. I've made plenty of drawings. And we'll keep working with this. This is Lewis. It says, attention players, help Lewis gather the dream fragments by matching his state of mind to what's shown on the dream fragments card. These are going to be the dream fragments. I've been calling them flashes because I've been saying they're memories. So I'm switching gears again, just kind of playing with the concept, playing with these ideas, and see what kind of lands, see what sticks with people, what begins making sense. And one of the things is, I don't know if they're memories, you know? I don't know. I don't want to treat them as memories. I want to treat them as they're in his mind. And so he's talking about them. These things are going on inside him, and he's talking about them. So we have these pieces floating around, and this is meant to represent his state of being, how he is right now. These are the three sets that I've had: the places, the people, and the mood. I've switched them up a little bit. They used to be these three. And so again, like the idea that I had was having things be more interactive and trying to get this more comic book style. But I also wanted them to be floating around his mind, so this didn't quite work. And I wanted bigger pictures. And so I started moving to something like this. It opens up and it gives the information of what this set does. But it allows me more space to work with it, but it gives me more freedom to change it around more easily. So that was the last iteration of this. And so, for instance, like with mood, it tells you all the three different ones, what it is, like how he's feeling now, and then like changing Lewis's mood drops your action point by 1. Playing the same mood increases your action by 1. And so these would do the same. I switched this, instead of intern, professor, captain. It might be something like that, but right now it's just man, woman, girl. Basic information, because again, like I don't want to get caught up in these story elements of a captain, a professor, and an intern. But they are at least a man, a woman, and a girl. And so I'll go with that and then start building my story back up. And so, again, players can choose that, they flip it to that, flip it to that, flip it over, you know. So it's as simple as this, but it gives me a little bit more room to play around. And so I've gotten all the 3 different places, the function of it and whatnot is described, and where he goes mentally. I didn't really get too much. So these are the things that players are changing. And they change that by drawing from the complex deck. The complex deck has all 9 of the different symbols scattered throughout here, and players get these in their hands, right? So you'd have, say, these cards in your hand, and on your turn you'd be playing these to try to change the effects. Sad. Change the effect. Change Lewis's state. We're trying to change his mental state so that he can match the memory or the dream fragment of this card so that you can get this card. So you can remember a piece of the dream. And in this case, it's the man in the lab, and Lewis needs to be afraid or shocked to be able to get this piece. And so one of the changes I have is that there's going to be multiple cards that players can try to go for on their turn, and then once it's failed, you take it and you get this. So once you match all of them, say girl, angry, let's go and get anger just for the sake of this. Anger in the ruins, already there. I'd get this card. So this is a story element, but this is a story element of 3s, and so like very hard to tell right now. There's a little image right here. It'll be clear this is just me kind of playing around with this idea. This image is of the portal. There's 2 other cards, so 3 in total of the portal, and so they're all clues, part of this little clue set. So once you get all of these, then you'd be able to get the actual dream. And right now it's just a picture. And so we'll go through these in a moment. But on the backs of these, so this is the game piece, but then on the back, it's going to be text. And the text will be a part of the picture too. And they're telling little pieces of what's happening in the image. It's still meant to be unclear. It's still meant to be vague. But I think putting all of the pictures together and all of the little text together tells a clearer story of what the dream, what's going on in the dream. And that's where I wanted to move away from the memory. Is I don't actually want clear memory or a wall of text to explain away something. I want it to actually be still vague and wondering what the hell's going on. And this is a new piece too, of what's on the other side of these dream fragments. Okay. So players on their turn are trying to change the conditions, his state of being, to match these, depending on which one they're trying to go for. Which ones they have in their hands kind of determines, and then they can also draw from this. But but that would depend on how many actions they have on their turn. So, Lewis's, I'm calling him mental blocks, but like mental fortitude, like his ability to kind of navigate all of this depends on this is where like I lack the words. I'm still trying to figure out how to describe this, and just it's going to happen over time. But essentially it fluctuates. His ability to deal with it fluctuates, and deal with it I mean how many turns a player has, or how many actions a player has on their turn. So whatever I end up calling it, it's that function. I've explained this plenty of times, but trying to figure out ways to do so more clearly in a way that actually makes sense. We're working on it. We're working on it. So what we have is the bar right here, and then we have this new element. I'll figure it out in just a second. Give me a moment. Okay, so I'll draw this more clearly, but this is going to be how many actions our character has. This was initially what I had. So again, it shows kind of like a basic style that I wanted. I liked this paper cutout, and I'm going to keep with it because I love paper cutout. You can tell this is all just a paper cutout character, and I like this very much. So what it is another one of the wheels, and you're moving to, this hurts so much, 1 block, 2 block, 3 blocks. Just indicating that's what he's saying. He's saying I have this many. But I moved away from that to this other idea, and it was such a fascinating thing. It's called an infinity card. And so an infinity card has 4 sides, and you just fold it in on itself, and you can move between all 4 sides. And you can just keep doing that, and doing that, and doing that, and it's very, very fun. This is one version of it. There's a couple different versions, and I'm playing with them. It's just flimsy paper, so a thicker stock, it doesn't just fall apart. And I can put any image that I want. So what we're doing here is players start with 3 actions available to him. He's doing all right. He's doing mentally okay. But what I've explained in the past is when his emotion is changing, switching back and forth, you drop in this. So if you're switching between angry to sad or angry to shocked, you drop. And you keep doing that. And you keep doing that until he hits essentially 0 and you lose his sanity. And so the bar would start going down 1 point and 1 point. How it's been in the past in all the different playtests is this moves slowly, but it doesn't just go down, because if you have you lose this mental block when you switch emotions, but you gain a mental block when you play on the same emotion. And so if you have an anger mood card in your hand, you can play that on your turn as one of your actions, but it'll raise this back up. And so now you have 2. You don't have 2, the next player has 2. And so then it goes that way. And so I've found that people actually will sacrifice one of their cards to get that action point back. I'm curious how often they'll do it, But that's something this is one of the things that happens. So you can lose them, you can lose this, and then you can gain it. When you lose sanity, though, you can't get that back. That only goes down. And then when you're done, it's over. Game's over. So this is a new element, and I think this is a very, very fun piece to play with. And there's a couple other versions that are very easy to move, manipulate, and change. And I will be exploring that because I liked the messing around with a card, messing around with a thing. That's a very fun element of board games for me, is just fucking around with the board. And it's very highly interactive. It's not cerebral. It's, you feel it, you going off of this, you're going back and forth. Another element that I have not introduced into this is a complex card that drops the mood. So when you flip it over, or when you get it, it immediately has to be played. You get it? Oh, you have to immediately play it, and that drops. There won't be many of them in the cart in the deck, but it will be enough that that it just adds this sense of urgency, a sense of randomness that any player can draw, and they can't do anything about it. And so now that I've got some backbone, some foundational pieces of this game, and I'll be doing less major changes, I can start introducing some of these more subtle types of cards in. So yeah, let's see what else. Oh yes, the story element. So when we're getting these, so I can see there's two portals. You can't see it that clearly. It will be a clearer thing, and then a friend suggested that all of these have the same orientation. You see how it's sideways here, but then long ways here? There's text on each one, right? So these are two portals. Say we get the other one. Let's just see. Let's just go find it. I haven't actually mixed these up at all. So maybe it's right here. It is. It's right there. So say all of the players have gathered them. You don't have to get them all yourself. Just accumulate. All the players have accumulated all three of these out of his mind. They've been remembered. So these then get added together to the memory, or not the memory. I keep saying memory, but it's not. It's a dream. And so what ends up being is he remembers. He remembers a dream. So maybe it can go right here. Maybe it goes somewhere else. I like that it just kind of takes over the board for a minute, and then those are placed. It doesn't stay here. It's just shown for a moment, kind of playing around with it. But then you can read them. You can move it around. These people lost their minds looking for it. I won't let you get away with this. Where were they sending him? So think about when you get this card right there, and it goes into your hand. It doesn't go into your hand; it just goes in front of you. You get to flip it over. You get to read it. These people lost their minds looking for it. It's like, I don't know what that means. And so these are, again, they're kind of in the vein of what it is I want, but I don't really know. So these things can be changed easily to start getting me closer to what it is that I'm talking about this dream element, and how all three of these kind of inform each other of this scene, but then this scene is nested within a bigger story, and then all 9 of the story pieces, these dreams put together with their text, tell a clearer story of what happened, and then clearly players can choose to organize them however they want, to see, you know, how the story played out, the progression of it, the chronology. So this is just kind of to help me see the aesthetic, how these pieces can come together, but also for players to see, well, what am I trying to do? Okay, well, I'm trying to get this dream, and I'm doing it by collecting these 3 clues, these 3 pieces. And these 3 pieces kind of inform me a little bit of what this image means. Where were they sending them? And it's like, I don't know. I won't let you get away with this. What does that mean? And so looking at these story elements and saying, oh, wow, okay. What if we got all of the company? What if everyone got the company symbol? And you say, okay, then you would go through here and I'd have it organized so that probably a tab, like on the back, it would be just the image. And so you'd be fanning through these things, looking, okay, so there's that. But I haven't done that yet, right? Just drew the pictures, just printed them off. And so we'll get there eventually. And it won't be these pictures, though. These pictures are fine. And they're certainly fine enough for this. So you look at these and say, oh, okay. And I wrote, they gave the order, and it says terminate subjects immediately. Someone's reading the I think it would be better if it's more legible. I was staring at this earlier. But then there's these, again, these story elements. They can be moved around. It doesn't really matter. So everyone gets to see this picture, and then everyone gets to read. They were behind it all, right? Because you have your own. You don't have to show anyone, but you can see it. And how can you leave me here? And they did this to me. But we all get to share what this might mean. And then, you know, after it was done, you'd remove it, set it off to the side, and then we'd be working on the same thing. And so, again, looking through, oh, there's all the spore. I don't know if it's the spore, but that's what I'm calling it. And you'd be going through these stories. And you're like, all right, bam, there's this thing. There's the image. And then you'd be writing, and it's at an open mind, right? The connection is closed. How could they be so stupid? We'll all be infected. So I really did have this idea of minimal text, as little text as I possibly could. I really don't like reading things in a game. It just pulls you out of it. And from what I've read and like the homework that I've done in game design is that's exactly right. That's exactly what happens is it pulls you out of the game. And so if I could arrange it as if you're reading a comic book, like, you know, with these captions and a big image and whatnot, it's clear to read, and it still pulls you in, it still keeps you there. And so this is the idea that I have. And so this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm going to be playing with. And so keep going through these story images because, you know, they're fun. So here we are. And I'm just going to run through them because it's enjoyable. So we have the storm. And so here we are. Let's look for the storm. And I like the idea of running through this. Just because these were fun drawings and I don't know how long I'm actually going to keep them. It's just to kind of get me, again, like all of this is just to get me to the next part, to the next the next phase. So here we have a person looking out into the storm on the ship. And we're using, again, the cards that we've collected, the players have all collected, and they're of the girl in the lab. And these aren't meant to be one-to-one, which initially that's how it was, is these were all in the same place. But these are scattered throughout the story. But they're meant to tie into the essence, the theme of all of these that unify them together was there's a storm. There's something about the storm that affects them at all these different places. And Lewis here is having a reaction, an emotional reaction to each character as they're reacting to the storm in this dream. It's a really difficult concept for me to wrap my head around, and so this is how I'm kind of piecing it together and trying to make sense as I'm describing it and saying, okay, like here's where I have a very loose understanding of what it is that I'm trying to do, and I need to slowly pick at it to make sense. Because I have this idea, but I don't know how to articulate it yet. So anyway, as it stands now is, okay, I'll get to that complicated aspect of this concept later, but for now, I can definitely still go with these texts, because that is how I want to show it. And so, yeah, these texts would be, the ship can't take the crashing. We can't go back. We need to leave before it's too late. These are, again, story elements that play into the larger dream, but they're being shown with the essence of the storm, like what the storm represents. And I had to be on the nose of storm, because otherwise it's too abstract. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's very fun. So we'll keep moving through it. Then we have The Gate. Boom. I like text when it explodes and whatnot. People can play around with that. And you can be really good at it. I'm clearly just trying to figure out how this stuff works. So I began using the cards that we played. Players can put them and arrange them however they want. And so this one's a little bit more difficult, because I wanted to show the explosion, I wanted to show it destroyed, but also there's other pieces to it, so it won't stay an explosion, it will be something else. But I won't let them go through. The way is shut. Where did I go? This one's a complicated one, and definitely still got lots of work to do with it. Death. I saw you. Death. We will be next. This is where they were lost. And why are their bodies down here? I'm not sure how Lewis is recalling these pieces. Is it him embodying the people in his dream, and he's saying what they're saying, channeling it, or if he's hearing them and just reciting it? I don't know. I don't really know yet. And so these are kind of up in the air, like across the board on what it is, because I'm just trying to search for how he's recalling these dreams. But this is in his mind. But it's images like this that I think, not all of them, some of them are more hectic, some of them are more busy, but there's something quiet about this, and I like that a lot. And I like how it fits in with everything. Again, like there'll be many changes that come about, but there's something about Lewis is recalling this right now, and it's very close. It's not abstract pieces disconnected from each other. Death. Yep. Pyramid. How is this possible? How can I go back there? And they're keeping this a secret. This is a fun piece. Again, I don't know if this is how it'll be, but that's what always comes back to me. Is the pyramid with the eye. And the eye is looking down. There's some stuff in this game that sticks with me and it won't let go. And there's something about the attention here. It's really important here. It's one of the higher concepts of the game that I can't let go of. But I can't really talk about these higher concepts yet because I'm still trying to work out what they mean. Just that this game is meant to be something akin to a psychological experience. It's an internal look at ourselves, and it's how we do it and how we navigate. But it's told in this bigger story. But that's not what's going on tonight. That's the pyramid. Trapped. We're stuck down here. They abandoned me, and I can't leave. He left me there. These are different characters at different points in the dream that are feeling these things. And again, he left me there. He's out of anger. This is one of the responses that Lewis is feeling. He feels angry. He left me there. They abandoned me, and I can't leave. It's felt with sadness. And it took place on the ship. Somewhere around the ship. And it's a story element that is actually anchored in the story and how that came about. But it's not there yet. It's still forming. But this is how I'm kind of piecing these things together. But yeah, trapped. And then last but not least, radio. The radio. This one's not as, picture's not as good. It's more basic. It's harder to tell what it is. It's meant to be a radio with an axe in it. This has a lot of meaning too. I can't believe what they're asking. I won't let them get in the way. They're doing this to us? This has to do with communication with the company that said the letter of terminate this project immediately. or terminate subjects immediately. And who's communicating and how it's being communicated and what's going on and what it leads to. And so whether then all of the pieces are combined, we get other pages that tell us more. I don't know. We'll get to that point eventually. Right now it's the story element. I did this video because I've been struggling with tying it all together and how the story fits and how the story progresses and what's the point of the story. And this is getting a glimpse of what it is that we're trying to do, what it is that I'm trying to make. And so Lewis is trying to remember all of these things before he loses sanity, before he loses his mind. Loses his mind, game over. And then you can start again. These elements of the game will probably turn into infinity cards. They have 3 sides that we flip between, 3 different complexes, 3 different icons. But then a 4th side can be information, just as easily. And because I wanted everything to be readily available. So you look, what's the purpose of the game? How does this thing work? How does turns work? I wanted it all here. Because it really is meant to be very, very straightforward. And I think that's it for now. Those are the changes that I've made. The game still works the exact same as I've been playing it. That all of my playtests have been doing. There may be a couple new elements, like the complex deck having several new cards that drop the mental blocks automatically. Then another one that was suggested, another change that was suggested that I'd like to try, is players can trade these cards to each other blindly as an action point on their turn. You can choose to trade with someone else, but you don't know what they give you. I'd like to see what that looks like. I think that could be a fun element. Who knows? And that's it. I think that is all of it. So thank you for watching and giving me your attention. I really appreciate that. And I will talk to y'all later.